Can you hear me, bud?
All right, so
Uh,
let's see.
I see you, but I can't hear you.
All right, that's kind of weird. Um,
I can't hear
can you hear me? Can you hear me at all now?
you. Hold on, because I hear you on my phone. So
Unmute mic. Is that better?
there you go. There we
Okay.
go. Awesome. That was quite easier than I thought.
Good, good.
I was wondering how it was going to be because it kept saying that I wanted to share it to my personal page, and I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I want to share it to the group, so I had to figure that out. So yeah. Jeez Louise. I'm dropping
Yeah, so you're
myself.
doing this. You're
Yeah.
you're doing this every week then.
Yeah, so we come on, or I come on every Tuesday in this group between 5 and 6 p.m. and just kind of give my perspective on things. I'm trying to have more guests on it, like yourself, to give some more insight for people. But yeah, just mostly kind of share my journey, what I went through, and just hopefully motivate some people to keep pushing through. So,
Yeah, man.
let's see. If anybody is on, give me a like or a comment. That way we can know where. It's actually kind of nice to not have to talk to myself for once. Usually, so if we have
Yeah,
comments,
right?
yeah, I have it pulled up on my phone. If anybody is on and wants to comment, I know there's a couple people that said hi, gave me a like, so cool. If you guys have questions for him, let me know. I do have a couple questions for him that I typed out. So, yeah, I mean, if we just want to get started, do you have anything you need to say before we get started? Or are you good, Ian?
Um,
No,
just happy to be here, man. Thanks for
cool.
inviting me
Thank
on.
you. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I think I appreciate you taking the time on a Saturday to sit with us in a totally different time zone and all that. So, um, so
Yeah.
you are a parenting coach. So I'm going to let you kind of dive into that and kind of, if you don't mind, just give us a background on how you got to where you got to and kind of what you offer people.
Yeah, sure, I can do that. So um I never really wanted to have children, and I've had my son for 2 years now, a little bit later in life, because I met a great woman who did want to have children, and uh, short and sweet, I fell in love with him when he was born. He's the light of my life, and my wife and I did a lot of study before we had him, after we found out that we were pregnant, to figure out how we wanted to raise him, the best ways to raise him. There's a lot of research going on now over the past 20 years or so that points to some things being more effective than other things. And so we did a lot of study, and as I was reading one of the book called Parent Effectiveness Training by Dr. Thomas Gordon, I believe is his name, if I remember correctly, and he inspired me to feel that I could help other people with their parenting journey. So
Yeah.
that's where I'm coming from. That's how it started for me.
Great. And then, like, what are some examples of things you could like help fathers with in the sense of parenting? Like, what are some of the things that you most encounter or that you hear of, or that are sort of like your niche in the sense of helping people?
Yeah, that's a good question. So a lot of times it's like people that are punishing their kids, yelling at their kids all the time, bribing their kids to, they feel that their kids exhibiting this behavior that they don't want them to exhibit. So I can help them to learn how to self-regulate themselves first off, right? So it's kind of a initial self-discovery, self-growth kind of process.
Yeah.
And then you can move into learning about the science of rearing children. That research that I touched on just a minute ago. There's a lot of it now, so I can help people understand what's going on with their children's brains and how the nervous system works in themselves and their kids,
Yeah.
and then really just give some tools and some um, knowledge around connection, reconnection, communication, playfulness, things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. When you hit on self-reflection, that's big for me because a lot of the things that I do or that I got there is all about, controlling myself and figuring out who I am as a dad and how I want to show up. And it just seems like the more people I talk to, they kind of have the same thing of just like, it ultimately starts with you. You want to be a better father? It starts with you, doesn't so I kind of hit, when you hit on that, it kind of hit home for me because that's, I agree with that. And I preach that a lot in my group. Um, you can't control a co-parent, you can't control the judges, you can't control anything, like that, but you can control yourself on how you navigate and how you, choose to respond to it versus reacting to it. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
now there's like a stereotype, and I've been glad to ask you this question, but like fathers are always like the authoritative ones and the ones that yell, the heavy-handed ones. Like, do you feel that that's going by the wayside? Do you feel that that's still there? Like, and then how do we get out of that stereotype? Like, I know like a lot of people are switching to the parenting of, talking to your children versus spanking or intimidating, or, like, how would you navigate that in the sense of if a father is like that, or do you think we're coming out of that?
Well, I think it's still pretty prominent actually, and that's one of the things I'm trying to work on is to change that paradigm for fathers. I do see though that there's a lot of fathers who have come up in a situation where their life they've struggled through their into their adult life, or they did some things that they when they were younger people in adolescence or early adulthood that they weren't super excited about or proud of, that and they look at their children and like, I don't want this to be happening for my kids. So I do see a lot of dads like stepping up and realizing that their role in their child's life is paramount, right? It's really important for fathers to be um, present. I think that's the big word, right? And I know a lot of your dads have struggles with custody issues or having uh, limited time with their kids. But I feel like that's one thing that we can all learn how to do with self-regulation. We talked about that a little bit, but just to be more present um,
Yeah.
with their kids when they have that opportunity, really just like 100% your attention is on the kid, So I think to answer your question fully, I think it's still present, but it is shifting, and there's a lot more dads out there that want to
Yeah.
participate in fatherhood.
Yeah, nice. I like how you said being present because I did a post one time. I said, "How do kids spell love?" And it's Time, and
Yeah, yeah,
that
man.
that's exactly how they don't understand the, hey, I bought you this. I mean, maybe they do, but I bought you this. I got you that. Like, they just want to go to the park and play with you for an hour, and you not be on your cell phone, you not be dealing with the dog, not be, like, just being in that moment. I can totally agree with, and you kind of hit on it in the sense of like a lot of the dads in this group or that may see this are, quote unquote, in the court's ways, like a Disneyland dad. They have every other weekend or one weekend a month or just a couple hours a week, and they're fighting for more, obviously. But how do you, or do you have any advice on how to be like, you still want to be a parent, you still want to be able to parent your child, but it's tough when you only see them for a couple hours a week. I've been on supervised visits where, I only got to see my daughter for 4 hours a week and I was paying somebody to sit there with me. So it's like, you can't be too heavy handed as a parent because you're just trying to be there and spend time with your kid. But do you have any advice for those parents that when they do have the time with their kids, like, how do they navigate that?
Yeah, I think that's really, really big challenge. I would say, it goes back to that self-regulation piece,
Mm-hmm.
self-discovery piece, I think, where if we can learn as dads to, when a situation arises, keep ourselves regulated, right? So rather than getting angry or rather than, thinking about a punishment or something like that for a behavior that we're seeing that we don't really like, just what I teach is to really like focus on how your body is feeling. um, and if you can focus on where that is in your body, and then you can use a calming tool, like a lot of people will breathe through it kind of thing, or you can do some movement of some sort, or now you can even like rub your hands, just give yourself something to like ease your nervous system so that you can come back and remain present. So as you said, that time is short and your presence is key. So
Yeah.
just keeping yourself regulated, I think, is probably the best advice.
Cool. Yeah, I like that breather, like a little thing, that little niche for them that they can do, or um, I think that'd be good, because I've been in that situation where it's like, oh, that's something I would totally want to parent on, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, I'm only here for 2 hours. Like, like let's just have time, let's have fun, let's play, but it's tough as a father because it's like we want to be that figure and teach them those things, and it's I know I'm not the only one that has struggled with that, so I appreciate that.
Yeah,
And
if I can add to that. Yeah, no
what's it?
problem. Yeah, I just wanted to add a thought to that where you brought up play.
Hmm.
So I think that's something that as adults we we kind of get it's pushed away,
Yeah,
put out of our minds, right? We're playful when we're kids, right? But as we become adults and we have more responsibility and a job or whatever it happens to be, we kind of lose that playfulness, that joy of just kind of being alive,
yeah,
right? So if you can cultivate that joy of being alive and that playfulness, so that when you're spending that time with your kid, you can really just get involved in the play. I
yeah.
think that would go a long way too.
Yeah, and it's funny because we have a thing in our house where I take the kids to the park if they, do all the stuff that they need to do, and I usually just take the two older ones. I leave the little one at home, and there's no phone, no nothing. And it's funny because I go down there and I'll see other dads or moms just sitting on the, around the playground, and I'll be running with them, going up and down the ladder, playing tag with them, just being involved with them. And it's funny to see, like, they'll start to stand up and go do something with their kids, or maybe they'll start to play, and so I see that a lot in the sense of like, and I've done it too, where I'm just, nah, I'm gonna sit this one out, and it's like, but why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what is it about me that I
Yeah,
can't
man.
just get up and go play tag with you, have fun? So, I think that's great advice, and I appreciate that. Which dovetails me into, there's some people that are like trying to rebuild a relationship with their kids. So there's people that I've spoke to that haven't talked to their kids in 12 years. There's people that are on supervised visits. There's people that have been alienated from their kids for 2 years. How, especially for like the teenagers where you may have an opportunity to um, reestablish that connection. Like, what are some advice or first steps in just trying to be there for the kid and show them that the past is the past, but you want to show up as a father and be there for them.
Yeah, that's a really, really good question, and such a significant challenge, right? What comes
Yeah.
to mind for me is every child wants to be seen, heard, and valued. Right? That's basically what it comes
Okay.
down to. So if you can show up for your child and just see them for who they are, be playfulness, the presence, and hear them, when they're having a struggle, and you can be there and hear them out without really offering advice or um, suggestions. Just hear it, just empathize. That's another big word that I would bring up. If you can cultivate your ability to empathize with your kids, I think that would definitely go a long way. And then the valued part is, I think that they will start to feel that value from you if you're seeing them and hearing them in their space, and you're holding that space for them to be able to be the people that they
Hmm.
they are and that they want to be.
Great. Thank you. Now, this is a real
Yeah,
loaded
man.
question, but a lot of people, including myself, are co-parents with another parent. So some of us have, 50-50 custody or 60-40, whatever their arrangement may be. Um, Now, I know there's going to be similar rules across the board in the sense of maybe how to raise them and manners and things, but there's a lot that's different. And I can only imagine how it is for my daughter's 9, for a 9-year-old to go from one house for 5 days, deal with those rules and that energy, and then come here and deal with my rules and my energy. Um, how do we as parents help a child navigate that?
Yeah, another big challenge, right? I think
Yeah.
one important thing is consistency. um, right? So I teach to I teach parents to set their boundaries based on their values. So you know,
Okay.
we were speaking about inner work a little bit earlier in the conversation. You know, if you really take a look at what you value and where you stand on your values, then you can start to build boundaries around those values, and then you can create limits within those boundaries that you can be consistent with over time, no matter what the situation is for you, right? So I think, and I
Mhm.
wonder, maybe you could speak to this more, but I wonder if there's a lack of consistency within the that one relationship, right? So you have a dad, child goes to mom's house, has a different set of rules, but then when the kid comes back to dad, there's kind of a lack of that consistency. So I think that would be probably one of the biggest things is just remain consistent with your boundaries and limits, regardless
Yeah.
of what the boundaries, limits, rules are, in the other household.
Yeah. No, that's good. And I think a lot of it comes down to, this word is powerful, but control. It's well, they get to do this over
Yeah.
there, and I don't get to do it over here, and well, you're going to do it here because I'm a better parent than them, and so it gets into that, um, tit for tat
Mm.
almost between the parents than it does the child, and um, we've all been there, but I think I like your approach of, setting your boundaries and then setting leeway within those boundaries versus compromising who you are as a father and things like that. So,
Yeah, right
um,
on, man.
what are some what are some common just I'll just say nuts and bolts in the sense of parenting issues that you deal with that you can share with us that may make us slow down and rethink things when that happens. Like I'm thinking like maybe tantrums or like for me it's bedtime. My oldest was just like it was bedtime was like the biggest struggle for me. Um, so I didn't understand. I was like, look, you're a kid, you're tired. There's a nice cozy bed. Go to bed. like. So it was tough. Like that was just one of my things. I don't know why, but um, so like, what are some common problems that you see that that maybe you could shed some advice on, or maybe make us slow down next time we're in that situation?
Yeah, yeah. I think the tantrum is a big one for sure. Especially with
Yeah.
younger kids. Interesting thing about tantrums is we don't think about it in the same way as like a toddler, right? So a toddler's going to throw himself on the ground and scream and holler, that kind of thing when they tantrum, right? But adolescents can tantrum too, or anywhere between,
Yeah.
and even adults, right? We don't think of it that way, but if somebody has an angry rage outburst, right? That's in my mind, similar to a tantrum that a 3 or 4 year old's having, right? So I
Yeah.
think when I think when we see that start to happen, um, we can essentially do the same thing, right? Regulate ourselves before we step into the role, so that we can um, then co-regulate our children, right? And if we can do
Yeah.
that, then they'll respond to us, and that consistency will allow them to see that they're safe, right? So they want to feel safe, they want to be seen, they want to feel soothed, and that will start to create that secure attachment that we're all looking to try to create with our kids. And that will reduce the drama, that will reduce the tantrums, that'll reduce, that'll make it easier to go to bed. I think another
Yeah.
thought I have is when you think about your boundaries and limits, what why are you setting the limit, right? Is it imperative that they go to bed at this hour? Is it imperative that this happens this certain way, or is there flexibility?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely I like that because you kind of like what is it about that that's making that person like is it I'll use the bedtime for instance, is it like my personal thing that I want them to go to bed, or is it because they're tired and they need to, or is it because whatever reasons? But if you take the moment, slow down, look within, and be like, it's really not a big deal if she doesn't go to bed. I mean, cool, stay up. You want to stay up? Okay, let's stay up. Um, so yeah, I like that like why is it causing you to do the action? And I relate it back to co-parenting. It's like you know, I talk a lot about how a co-parent can trigger us, and it's like knowing your triggers is my number one thing. And if you don't know your triggers, you're in for a ride of your life because they're going to constantly try to trigger you. And if you know your trigger, you say, that's them trying to trigger me, or that's their personal issue that they need to deal with. This has nothing to do with the kid, or hey, this is my issue that I need to work through before I respond because otherwise you're just in a state of emotion, just reacting to it all versus, digesting it and breaking it down. So I can relate to it in that sense. And then the other
Yeah,
thing is,
and if I
so
could,
like, yeah, no, go ahead.
sorry, I think there's a little bit of a lag between our voices here,
Yeah,
but
there is.
um,
Yeah,
I was just thinking like in the moment, right? So we're talking about like kind of pre-tantrum or thinking about like what's happening with the limit that you're trying to set. But like in the tantrum itself, I think that word trigger is really important, right? So when you think about previous trauma or generational patterning, these triggers are things that are subconscious to our minds, right? They're not on a conscious level. So if we can start to identify those triggers and start to use whatever tool, I mean, if you can find a tool like breathing or like stroking your arm or just doing a little dance or even just walking out of the room, it's okay if you walk out of the
yeah,
room and there's still tantruming a little bit, and I think that can
yeah,
go a long way too to reduce that frequency, the intensity of outbursts.
yeah. There's a lady, I forget her name. She's a household name, but she does the 5 4 3 2 1, and that's been really beneficial
Okay.
for me in the sense of like if I'm triggered or I'm in like a flight or flight fight or flight type mode, it's just 5 4 3 2 1, and there's something in your brain that it triggers. I don't know the whole details to it right now, but um, it triggers something in your brain to bring you back, and then flip your script. So 5 4 3 2 1. Okay, I'm not going to yell at the kid, or 5 4 3 2 1. I'm going to sit down on the couch and just take a minute. Like whatever it may be, you're going to flip what you would have done versus whatever situation you're in. Her story is she couldn't get out of bed because she was so depressed, I think it was, and so the first way she got out of bed was every time her alarm went off, 5 4 3 2 1, just got out of bed, just totally changed the script, and then she started applying it to her whole life, and it. I wish I knew all the brain stuff it did, but it's something with your frontal lobe, and but you have to look it up. It's good.
Yeah.
It worked for me.
Yeah.
I like it. I do it sometimes as a joke. I'll just go around the house, 5 4 3 2 1. So it's just
Nice, nice.
now it's become a thing. But I'm gonna check the comments to see if we have any comments. We have a
Yeah.
couple here. I don't know if they're
Yeah. Was that
questions
Mel
or I'm
Robbins, I
gonna.
think?
Yeah. Oh, can you see the comments too?
No, I can't actually.
Okay. Oh yes, Mel. Yes, yes, yes. Parenting coach. Awesome. I'm an estranged parent hoping to get reunification therapy for my 9-year-old. I also have a 19-year-old from a different mother. So, all right, Josh, I'm sure you can relate to a lot of this. So, Josh just commented. He says he's an estranged parent hoping to get reunification therapy with his 9-year-old, which would be good, especially if you haven't seen. Do you do reunification therapy with kids, or is that not your wheelhouse?
Yeah, that's not really my wheelhouse. I'm not really trained like as a therapist would be trained. So
Yeah.
yeah, kind of.
Yeah, no, I understand.
That's kind of heavier duty,
I can
heavier
imagine
hitting
that's
thing.
pretty. Yeah, I was gonna say I can imagine that's a much deep seated. So let's see. I'm gonna ask my dad. Awesome. A couple people are watching. Know your triggers. Yes. Oh my God. Even parenting. Wow. You guys cool. So if anybody has any questions, you guys can post them really quick, or even after the fact. I think Ian will be able to comment on the post. He's in the group, and I'm sure he will shed light. Ian, do you have any last minute things to add? And then if not, I'm gonna share your group and um, we'll get going. But if just last minute tips or
I
last
think
little minute you want to leave the group with.
sure. We talked a bunch about self-regulation, and I think if we really can focus on where we're at and see our kids, hear our kids, value them for who they are, and kind of set aside our own preconceived notions of what it should be, and just let it be what it is, and enjoy it for what it is. I think we can build stronger, happy relationships with our children.
Yeah, I think so too. That's great advice. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
So
man.
for people who are watching the replay too, hashtag replay if you are watching it. Again, if you guys have questions for Ian, post them. He will be able to come on and answer them. I'm sure he would love to do that for you guys. I'm going to post his group link in the comments as well. Do another post, so feel free to hop over to his group. It's a free group, I believe, right?
Yes, yes, it is.
Okay, cool. So it's a free group, so just go there. Be sure and answer his questions. Get into that group for advice, and if there's anything else we can help with, feel free to comment on down below. Ian, I appreciate you coming again on a Saturday, spending your time with us, sharing a little bit of insight. I hope to have you back at a later date to maybe dive into some other parenting things that we can, and go from there. So again, I appreciate your time. If you don't have any questions for me, we'll log off and go from there.
Yeah, no, I just want to appreciate you, man, for doing the work that you're doing, helping these dads out. It's a really hard road to walk, and you're out there, you know, working on it for everybody. I appreciate being here
Yeah, I appreciate
and
that.
having a voice to share what I can offer as well.
Great. No, I really appreciate that. And I know someone just commented that they want to share this video out. So hopefully we can get some awareness on parenting and things like that, and go day
Super.
by day.
All right,
So, all
man.
right, man, I
Yeah, that's
appreciate it.
it.
I'm going to end the video. I'll talk to you soon.
All
All
right.
right,
Good to
thanks.
see you, man.
All right, bye.